So this is Dr.Jegasothy, one of my good friends here in Miami. She's a wonderful dermatologist. And we're going to go back and talk about the top 10 cosmeceuticals of 2015. So,
thank you for inviting me, Jill and Dr. Salton Wellman. I give this talk roughly every year, a few times every year. And so just my staff thought it'd be cute for you guys to take a look at the 10 Commandments since it's so early in the morning and be reminded of the weekend activities, etc. But anyway, basically, my main thing about picking cosmeceuticals are 3 different things. One is that, remember that the rest of the industry is looking to us for sort of the forward thinking in terms of the next best, well-working cosmeceuticals. So keep that in mind. So whenever I pick things, they tend to be newer things and things that are not out there online and things that are not really something that everybody already knows is a household name, things that the patients generally haven't heard of. And so that's how I keep cutting edge. The second big thing that I think is important in picking cosmeceuticals for each year is that they be products that have some sort of clinical studies that show definitely prove penetration of the skin. And that's an easy study nowadays to do. It's using a skin dermal model, they can do it or whatever, but to prove penetration and then to also prove some kind of efficacy in building collagen. Ideally, it would be biopsy proven, but these days there are nice things like transepidermal water loss studies and different things. There's even topography studies that show a diminishment of wrinkles. And there needs to be something that shows that the cream really does something more than just hydration. And the last thing that I like to look for is also certain price point. I think that obviously our procedures do more than any cream ever would. I think the creams now are becoming more important since we're doing procedures that disrupt the epidermal barrier, such as maybe microneedling or even Fraxel or CO2 Fraxel, as my colleague Dr. Weibel talked about. And so using the good cosmeceuticals after these channel-inducing lasers is sort of the latest frontier in advanced aesthetic medicine. And so I think these cosmeceuticals become more important in that sense. But certainly, most of these are being used on an undisrupted epidermal barrier and should be proven penetration. Lastly, I think that there's a price point that I think for every practice there's a sweet spot for that price point for products, and I think it's different whether you're an aesthetic dermatologist or whether you're an esthetician or whether you're a nurse practitioner or a plastic surgeon. It all depends on how your practice is structured and how things are sold and who sells them. But figure out that sweet spot in terms of price point, because that is important too. If you're selling some products that are $30 and then you're selling other products that are $300, it's going to get A, confusing for your staff, and then B, it also sort of gives patients sort of not a good understanding of why one thing is one price and one is another. So I try to keep things in a certain range, and I find that to be helpful. So you'll find that all the products I'm talking about today will fulfill all of those criteria. So it's just the forward button? Yes, okay, so I have no disclosures with respect to this talk. So my first 5 are, I like the Gliderm products. They were around a long time ago, and then the company kind of went defunct, and then now it's been revived, and they're doing some new marketing and a lot of new formulation work, actually. And so I really like 2 of their products in particular, the cleanser and the face cream. Both of those I use for more mature skin types. The cleanser is one of the least irritating glycolic cleansers I've come across on the market. And then the face cream is great for the peri or postmenopausal woman who says, I don't know, my skin is just dull, it's just dry. Every day I wake up and it's just dry. And you're not sure if they're flaking, if they're dry, if they're not exfoliating as well. But this cream definitely helps because it chemically exfoliates to some degree, and then it also gives them good hydration, and they seem to like that a lot. When I give this talk also, I'm generally asked to comment on some of the peels that I like a lot that I'm doing lately. Meso Aesthetic, which I think they just changed their name to Neo Aesthetic. It's Neoethhetic. Anyway, so the company just changed its name, but their peels are still, in my opinion, the best peels on the market for the value. And their Pyruvex peel in particular is very non-irritating, rarely causes hyperpigmentation, even when patients, all of my patients lie to me, they go in the sun, you know, quickly after I do procedures and way too quickly than I ask them to. So the Pyruvex peel is sort of my go-to peel for brown spots, especially superficial brown spots. If they're deeper, obviously I'll do an NDI or an IPL or something, but superficial brown spots, and it's very safe even in darker skin types, people who are Fitzpatrick 5 and even 6. The Obagi Blue Radiance peel, I know that's a big name, and you've probably heard, you know, all of you have heard of Obagi, but this Blue Radiance peel is somewhat newer. It came out, I think, 2 years ago. I don't use the actual blue peel anymore. That gives a little bit too much downtime for my kind of practice. But the Blue Radiance peel, which is a little bit lighter, and it's a mainly salicylic acid peel, seems to be the best peel I have for really bringing out the debris in a closed comedone. So it's probably my go-to peel for people with a lot of grade 1 acne or open comedones or closed comedones. It really makes extracting a breeze and much quicker, and then the patients aren't left with any marks. Incidentally, whenever we do extractions in the office after using this kind of peel, or even if you do steaming of the face or whatever, it's nice to put on some sort of high potency cortisone gel just for one application immediately afterward. That takes away the redness and really dramatically reduces the sort of recovery time from the extraction. And I'll also do a topical epiduo or something directly on those comedones that we've extracted, and it creates a channel and it seems to go in immediately afterward a little bit better and gives them a better result. Now, I've never really believed in neck creams because I don't really think that neck creams penetrate the skin of the neck. The neck is very thick. But I do think that when I do microneedling of the neck, or if I do Fraxel on the neck, or if I even do PRP, and when I do PRP, I actually inject the platelet-rich plasma. But in that situation, when you're disrupting the epidermal barrier and you're creating channels in the skin, I find that some of these neck creams do help it a little bit with my results. And this is the one I'm currently using, the Unistrata Triple Action Neck Cream. Okay, next slide. I'm liking My Body this year. It's a company that is smaller. One of the other things I wanted to mention, actually, coming to this, is lately, as I get older, one of the criteria for picking skincare stuff has to be that the company is pleasant and easy to do business with too. You know, so many of them, they send you the wrong product and then you have a hassle to return it, and then they don't want to give you a refund on the bill, or they don't want to give you shipping on the new order or whatever. My Body is probably the nicest and easiest company to deal with, and that to me nowadays ends up being important as well. They have a few nice products that I really like. One is, it's one of the first good, what they call probiotic cleansers. And as you know, probiotic is now a buzzword all over for food, dietary supplements, nutrition, etc. Why not for the skin? The acne crowd seems to really like the concept that if they're on antibiotics for a long time, that you're giving them a probiotic to use on the face to sort of balance out the microflora of the skin. A lot of them use it. It's a big tube. They can put it in the shower and use it on their body if they have back acne or chest acne as well. It's effective. The 18 is a high potency retinol cream. It is the retinol cream I've found so far that really causes the least irritation. And that's another issue when I pick Cosmeceuticals, is I really want to not get phone calls back from the patients saying that the product irritated them. I can't stand it. I don't want to take the product back. I'm not Nordstrom. I'm not interested in retail policy. So you know, you want to give them things that work but don't irritate. And this 18 has a really nice texture and feel. They have, My Body in general has good studies to show some efficacy and penetration. And again, it's very non-irritating. And then their vitamin C. Now, I used to sell the Obagi vitamin C just because it had a lot of passive resale and everyone had heard about it. But this is a really nice alternative vitamin C serum that again has good penetration, and people seem to like it. It has a light texture and feel. You can even use it in your oily skin or acne patients, or even in weather like Miami, and it doesn't seem to be too heavy. Regenica AM is one I know we talk about all the time. The big thing about it is it's probably the best of the growth factor serums that also incorporates a sunscreen. So it's 2 steps in one, and people here definitely like that. And I like the morning product because that's the one that has the sunscreen. And then lastly, a bleaching cream that's safe in pregnancy. There's very, very little I do for patients in pregnancy other than fruit acid peels. And if they are having some melasma, I'll give them this product, and then that's about it. I do no harm. So then even if we're not doing harm, we get accused of doing harm when people are pregnant. So I just, try to do as little as possible, and this is something you can give them. And they're, it's not as good as any of the stronger bleaching creams, but it's certainly better than nothing. Okay, and that's my talk. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. I'm not sure who's next.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
You're talking about doing a peel and restricting extractions afterward, or are you talking about the same day or bringing it back?
No, I'm talking about at the same time. You actually apply the peel, however you normally do it. And then if you wait about a minute to 2 minutes, you'll actually see the debris coming to the surface in both an open and a closed toenail. And then all you have to do is push with not your fingernails, obviously, but with the pads of your fingers. And then it will all the junk will come out onto the surface, and you can wash it off. You can wash it off at the same time as you wash off the peel.
And so do they actually peel afterward?
If they've been using a lot of tretinoin-based products or a retinol, occasionally they'll peel, particularly in the areas of extraction, but not so much. A lot of mine, I like to tell the patients modern peels don't really peel. They're misnomers. They're fruit acid washes or whatever. They work at the cellular level to do the work that we want. For example, pyruvic acid, we know, inhibits melanin production at the tyrosinase level. So things like that. That's what I tell them. So peeling is if you want peeling, I can give you peeling, but if you don't want peeling, I can certainly give you an effective fruit acid peel also. Sure. Oh, yes. Just now, the Ovive Blue Radiance peel? The Blue Radiance, not the blue peel. It's a different one, it's newer. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Majula. That was fabulous as always. Next, we're going to bring to the podium one of my colleagues from the University of Miami. He did his training in Arkansas, and he's at Western University of Miami. Dr.